Hey guys, this is Robert from Hush Performance. We're here in Las Vegas today. We're going to be doing some brake lines on Robert Romero's Acura Integra. This is a 1,000 horsepower Acura Integra GSR. It's the world's fastest and quickest to date. We're going to be setting them up with some new brake lines. We had some parts on this product, on this car before. We're going to set them up with a new master cylinder inside the car. We're going to set them up with a brand new staging brake. We're going to be replacing the one he has with a brand new one from Wilwood. We are a Wilwood dealer. We have a really nice part that they had just come out with. Very excited to install it. So like many of our kits that we first come up with, we have a schematic that we draw out. We have a good idea, and then we string it directly off of the spool there, and then I have the crimper right behind me. I'm a brake quip dealer. When we test each hose, 3,000 psi. All the hoses that we make will also be manufactured the same way. So going through, this is our original brake plate that we made several years ago. We actually installed this back in 2014. You can see the hard lines that we have there. One thing to keep in mind, what the difference is between a hard line and a soft line. Someone that's buying something, the hard line is something that may be difficult to ship and could get damaged during shipping. Stainless steel braided is nice because it can roll up in a small package and it can be shipped everywhere, and you wouldn't have to worry about it getting crushed and misfigured. Getting started, this system still has brake fluid in there, so that's the first thing that we're going to do, is we're going to remove all the fluid out of here. We're going to use the vacuum pump that we use from Harbor Freight. I mean, I love that thing. It costs 25 bucks. It does exactly what we need. Now, since this already has a brake booster delete plate and a Wilwood master cylinder, we're going to leave that. But because we're leaving it, it's still an older style. Most of the master cylinders, actually all the master cylinders that we sell now, are banjo end. It doesn't take the MPT or national pipe thread. That's what this is here. It doesn't take that style anymore. It takes the banjo version. The reason we use the banjo version is because it allows you 360-degree clocking. The MPT in a 90-degree setup, just like that, when you turn it, it's not casted as far as the threads go, so you don't know which direction that the 90 is going to point. The reason we use the banjo is because we can clock it around, and crush washers actually seal it. So we can point it any direction that we want, and that's why we use it. Since this one's already installed, we're going to keep it that way. We're just going to keep the MPT style here, and we're just going to change this fittings out. We're also going to keep the bulkhead. When I first drew out the schematic for this in 2014, this ended up being what we modeled all the sports front-wheel drive versions after. Now we have two where it's an in-bay, so we don't have to go through the car and then back out the wheel wells. Guys are doing this because it looks cool. The in-bay version has the lines inside the engine bay, which is much easier to work with and install. Most of it. The original tube line was removed. Might have been one of the first ones I made. Again, we made this in 2014. It's in pretty good shape. We'll keep it in shape. I'm sure Robert's going to want to sell this off to somebody who wants one for a DA. So again, off the line, we'll grab our hose off the spool, go over here and choose the fitting that we need. Remember, I mentioned that was going to be a straight part, so the hoses are made from a couple of parts. We have one is the sleeve. This is called the Crimp Sleeve, and this would be the fitting that attaches to whatever fitting that we want to use. In this one, we're going to be using a female -3, and we're going to use a straight on this. This is the guy we're going to crimp up right now. When it gets cut flat, so we just kind of unflatten it with the back side of this tool here. Open it up. It'll fit right into our sleeve here. Alright, and then inside there's like there's a ledge that this butts up against too. Just making sure that it's all the way tight. Grab our crimping tool. This will hold the tool for us up and tight up against the crimper itself. And we'll check to make sure this does not crimp too tight, because it can be too tight. It's got a dial indicator up here that we adjust. Test it here to make sure that it's open and it's good to go. Once I get the lengths ran, then I'll test this hose 3,000 psi. So we got our straight fitting on. I have we're going to use a 90-degree. This is how we set up most of our sports front-wheel drive in-bay kits. So come from the master cylinder. It's going to tuck up underneath the steering column and then back up around underneath, like kind of behind this cross member, and then back up to the bulkhead in the center of the vehicle. Let's see. Again, this was our very first sports front-wheel drive line kit that we designed and had made by a local hydraulic shop. From inside the vehicle, it comes in through a bulkhead fitting right there, bulkhead T. Then it tees off both sides of the wheel well through another bulkhead, which is a 90. So the fitting's a 90 on the inside of the firewall, and then it goes to a 90-degree fitting on the other side, which keeps it tight up against the wheel well. In here, it's a little long. We're going to shorten that up so it fits tight. Another reason is this type of fitting that they use, it's really long and bulky. The new fittings that we have, they're called low profile, which means they don't consume a ton of room. What we're doing here is fitting the hose from the 90-degree bulkhead that comes in from inside the firewall into the wheel well. It's going to fit tight up against the wheel well, and then we're trying to get to the OEM bulkhead mount. And now we're just kind of discovering how much length we need. It's always good to cut long, and then we can always shorten it later. That way we're not too short and we just lose an entire line. Alright, after a couple of fittings, we got our fender well hose. That is a 90-degree bulkhead, a 10mm by 1.0 adapter, 90 also. Tucks really tight against the wheel. This is it. I think this is going to be it.
So he's going to attach it to the bulkhead that's over there in the firewall. You can see it there. That's, again, where most of our sports front-wheel drive kit will be. That goes into the wheel well. And then we have another one that is it's a bulkhead T, which you could barely make out right there. We just finished up the brake install. Take a look at those lines. Oh, there you go.
Alright, there it is. That's a sports front wheel drive kit for the DA. After all our cutting and fitting, we got a kit finally. Everything's tested. This is what it will look like. This tucks underneath the dashboard. This hose comes from your master cylinder, tees off where the heater core would normally bolt to, tees off, feeds both wheel wells, comes out to the wheel well through a 90-degree bulkhead and out to the factory mount where your OEM or aftermarket brake lines would normally meet. So thanks for watching, guys. This is our DA Sports Front Wheel Drive brake line kit.